Good evening and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm your host, Eugene Chan. Our guest tonight is Mr. Andrew Leung, the current president of the 7th Legislative Council. He was also president of the previous LegCo and has served in LegCo since 2004 as the representative of the Federation of Hong Kong Industries in the Industrial First Functional Constituency. We've invited Mr. Leung here tonight to tell us if the new LegCo will be able to make up for the lost opportunities of the past few years. Welcome, Andrew.
Good evening.
Firstly, a heartiest congratulations to you being re-elected. We had your predecessors, Mrs. Rita Fan here 5 weeks ago, and also Mr. Jasper Zhang here a few weeks as well, sharing with us a lot of challenges. And as an outsider, the last term must have been the most terrifying one because we actually witnessed the LegCo building being vandalized and being damaged. What makes you want to come back for a second term?
I think with the enactment of the new electoral law and the national security law, when we see now we have 90 members,
right,
of which most of them, 59 of them, are new, although 2 or 3 have been previously been a legislator. So I think we need a lot of help to get them onto the mold of normal LegCo. The second thing is that now that it's a new scenario with the enactment of both laws, it's a new start and a new opportunity. And I think I'm glad to be re-elected as LegCo president at this very important juncture for the future of Hong Kong. So that is why I think it's important. And also, unfortunately, we have not enough accommodation for all 90 members. So 45 of them have to be housed in the annex CITIC building, next door. And we also have a major, rebuilding process going on, of which I've been working for the past year. So continuing to be the LegCo president would help smoothing the way along with the next 2 or 3 years, making sure the new building will be finished on time,
right,
and then let all 90 members get back into the LegCo building.
Right. Andrew, as we also witnessed on the television, that with the new swearing ceremony is much more smoother compared to the 2016 one, where there were a lot of so-called oath-taking protests, antics that happened during the time. And Priscilla Leung, your colleague, was here 2 weeks ago, and she said it's a very moving experience when actually she sees the national emblem hanging in the LegCo building. Why do we have this change of having the national emblem there at the oath-taking ceremony?
It's very simple. We've been discussed with government and CE what is the best venue for the oath-taking. Finally, we come to conclusion that the best venue would be in the LegCo building itself. But under the law, any oath-taking, we need to have the national emblem hanging on. The scenario is very simple. 3-4 months ago, we ordered the national emblem. At the same time, we also order the SAR emblem as well. The reason is that the 2 emblems cannot be the same size. Right now, the SAR emblem is 1 meter wide. So we order a 1 meter emblem for the national emblem to replace that.
Right.
Meantime, we have to order 800.
Right.
A smaller one.
Yeah, to show the one country,
to show
two
the
system,
one
yes.
country, 2 system.
Right.
But there's only one place where you can order that, and for 3 months, it was not delivered.
Right.
So with different opinion from various members, so we asked government, the building services as well, to get hold of one and then put it there
right.
in time for the first meeting so
right.
that we have the national emblem and the SAR emblem together.
How do you feel when you see the emblem when you actually see the ceremony?
I think it just put the constitutional side, at the right place.
Right.
We are one country, two system. We have the national emblem on top, and then SAR emblem beside it. And also the size will tell who's the mother country.
Yes.
We are only a SAR. Right. So I think it's just putting everything back into perspective, and also it gives the dignity of the electoral chamber as well.
Right, I see. So Andrew, I also recently read about the joint statement of the electoral 88 members condemning the European Parliament for the accusation and the resolution against Hong Kong. This must be the first time that you see such a united electoral against an outside accusation.
I think the accusation is malicious and far from truth. Mm-hmm. So I think it would be for us, electoral member, come out, united to, tell them that, really mind your own business, and you are not even having the facts right.
Yes. Andrew, also, as you mentioned, you have quite a larger group now compared to before. You have 8 parties there, 8 political parties with a wide age range from 33 to 73, and they're more than half are first comers. Do you think, how might they change the things, how things will be discussed in the future? Would it be too many people talking about the same thing?
I think we now have a wider participation. The spectrum is wider. The age, differences is also huge. So it brings all the professionals, different sectors, new ideas. Mm-hmm. And as you have seen the first 2 meetings, you have new faces with new ideas coming in. And I think that if we can harness all this, different views from that wider spectrum, and if government can listen to the good points made by the members, I think it will make, the government and legislator, executive and legislative, relationship a lot better.
Yeah.
And also, I think, although we have more members, but I think when we change the panel structures so that each one will have only 20 members, then they can have deeper, in-depth discussion between the ministers and the Legislative Council, instead of, 40 members, 50 members, each one can only speak for 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Yes. Yes, Andrew, I also look at some statistics and notice that actually there are more members of the Legislative Council that are not born in Hong Kong, like 21 members of current term, presumably from mainland China. And we also have a new functional constituency in business, whereby they're representatives from the mainland Chinese companies. How would you see this new input? Would it bring better quality of debate and give us better suggestions to the government?
I think the wider representation will definitely bring a wider experiences, into electoral. I think with people, they may not born in Hong Kong, but they are Hong Kong citizens. They've been here for a long time.
Right.
Okay. And also, I think with the new, functional, coming from the mainland business sector, they represent, quite a big chunk of Hong Kong's, economic side as well. So to bring in their voices is also good. But if you look at that, in future, we are looking at the 14, the 5th, plans, and also the big Greater Bay Area. I think inputs from them will also tighten, the relationship between Hong Kong and the motherland.
Right, so it's very pleasing to note that you encourage, the wide representation and give us more views. Much was talked about the lower turnout rate of the election to 30.2%, but it has been agreed that because it's also showed the support from the people, when we have a much higher turnout, it could mean a split of the society. But having that in mind, we still want the different opinions to be heard. Now the legislature is 89.1 because we only have one Dik Ji-yun who's supposed to put a pandemic camp. How would you encourage this vacuum that we have pandemic for many years? How would you encourage that vacuum to be filled by the new 89 legislators or even the all 90 members?
Well, I hope the vacuum will never be filled because, if you look at the last session, the pandemic, so-called, just trying to stop everything moving and stop Hong Kong functioning. So I think with now, we have wider representations, and also with the legislative process is very simple. Government put up the bill, and then when we scrutinize the bill, we will hear from all the citizens, their views, and then we deliberate with government to try to amend some of the views that may not be acceptable from the public. Mm-hmm. So I think we collect views from there rather than collect views from those who want to damage Hong Kong and stop legislative functioning.
Okay, let's take a break and don't go away. Welcome back. We have been talking to Mr. Andrew Leung about the composition of our newly sworn legislature. Let's move on to talk about the issues that most Hong Kongers most wanted to know. So in the first part, we talk about the current makeup of the legislature, your views, that we should have a wider representation, hopefully for more constructive opinions. So what are your personal expectations of the same legislature? You've been a legislature member since 2004. What would be in your opinion, what should be the first priority on the legislature? I mean, the chief executive had mentioned some bills that they have put up, but what would be your own prioritized issue?
I think the number one issue is the pandemic, okay, COVID-19, especially the outburst, these few days. And I hope that, the legislative councillor can work together with government to try to, get that over. I think once the pandemic is subside, then we can move back to normal economic, activities, and we might, have the border open so that we can travel, normally at least to motherland. So that is number one issue. Now, the legislative agenda is the onus of the government. They will just have give us 37 bills that they want to send. So each bill needs to have time to go through all the processes. And the third issue is that the CE mentioned that she wants to restructure some of the ministries, which is a good way of moving forward for the next government. So we need to work that out, before the next, CE come on. So I think that already is a tall agenda for legislator and the government to work together.
So even the current term of government comes to the final 6 months, so there's still a lot of work to be done. I want to ask you that you've been in legislature for so long. We know that the House of Rules of Procedures and House Rules has been amended a few times in the last few years. Has our legislature still had teeth, especially in the Year of Tiger?
Obviously, I think we are working together with government like cogwheels or gears, working together. In the past term, I think some of our members have tried to stop, one wheel, moving, and that's not healthy at all. I think we need to work together with government. We will, monitor, the activities. We have the right, in basic law. But then we need to work together with an executive-led government to scrutinize, the bills, to scrutinize the budgets and things like that. But we need to do it in a constructive manner and give our opinion, and not, like the always a very destructive way to stop government functioning.
So, Andrew, you know that the legislature have met Mr. Sha Baolong, and he has mentioned 5 criteria to be advice to the new legislators. Do you think that such as they have to be a firm patriot to make sure protect national security, they have to be a protector of the executive-led government, as you just mentioned, a true representative of a people, be diligent and be united? Do you think, that firstly, can they do it? And secondly, will they be able to catch up on all the lost opportunities that we had due to all this unreasonable filibustering and calling quorum, etc., etc.?
Now, the first thing, Chapo Long's 5 wishes is a universal standard. I mean, not only to Hong Kong, a legislator is right for every legislator or, congressman in other countries.
Right.
Once you become a legislator, you have to follow that. No legislator, become a traitor to their own government.
Yeah.
Okay, so to speak out for the people is a universal norm as well. So I think it's a very timely reminder for our legislator, newly elected legislator, that this is what we need to do for Hong Kong people.
Yes.
I think we come to become legislator not for ourselves, but for the betterment of Hong Kong and the Hong Kong people.
Yes, President, it's very encouraging to see that the last term of Legislative Council passed 48 bills, which is double the average of what they did in the average the last 2 years, with 42 members. But now you have a team of 89, including yourself 90. And if you're going to hear everybody, if 90 people minus 1 times 7.5 minutes each, it's going to take you 7.5 hours just to listen to them. How can you ensure that all of them have a chance to speak up and be able to have follow-up questions? Like the recent meeting with CE coming to the electrical, it was 1.5 hours, it was extended to 2 hours, and 17 members spoke, and Rebecca Chen was saying that she didn't get a chance to have a second chance. So maybe you can tell the viewers, how will you going to ensure all these different voices can be heard and work effectively? I
think, in electrical, we have a system of, those members who have asked less questions will have more priority.
Right.
And also, I think in the electrical, now with the change of rules of procedures, that we want to divide responsibilities so that, each one panels will have a maximum of 20 people instead of, in old days, can be, 60 people.
Right.
Okay? So their voice can be heard, a lot easier. And I'm sure that, also with the change of rules of procedure, the speaking time is a bit less. I think, given, members, if they can use their time well and let other people have the opportunity to speak, that is, quite, better for everybody. You mentioned that when the first question being asked, the whole question and answer span already 13 minutes.
Yes.
The first half an hour, we see only answer 3 questions. Right. But after I remind members that they should not voice their opinions, they should ask shorter questions. The next hour, we have 14 questions. Right. So you can see that
the difference already been made. Yes.
We need to give more opportunities for other members. So I think it's a fair system.
Right. Andrew, in our show, we have been talking about different matters in Hong Kong. One of the things that attract a lot of attention is the huge inequalities, especially the housing issue in Hong Kong. And in the recent news article reported the asset declaration forms of the legislators, almost 77% of electoral members say have property owners, and nearly half of them have a property in the mainland or overseas. So how can you, or how confident are you that they'll be putting aside their own interests and work for the other 49% of the Hong Kong people who don't have a property?
I think, the property market, is a deep-seated problem. I think we need to solve it in different ways and come up with new ideas. Now, the Northern Metropolis, is 300 square miles. It offers a lot of, opportunities as well. And also we need to streamline the government, bureaucracy that, land can be available in a shorter time. So I think there are so many things that we need to work out.
Right.
So with the new legislature, that with all members from different fields, we hope that new ideas, new chemistry can come up to help government making more land available for people who would like to have their own properties.
Right. Yeah, it's very reassuring to hear that. Just very briefly, we have been reading in the news that Article 23 is going to have a consultation soon. And what is electrical role in this? I mean, we had a big turmoil back in 2003. How do you see the current legislature? Would it be passed through smoothly? What is your anticipation?
Well, I think it's under our constitutional duty that we should legislate for the Article 23. So government already said that they will start, in the first half, the consultation to the wider public. And after the consultation, then they will come to the Legislative Council to present the bill. So I think while they are consulting the public, I think the legislator would also hear the voices of the public. And then they will reflect it during the scrutiny of the bill. And I hope that, with the national security law being enacted, this time, the bill would be, going on, through electrical smoothly. But I think, again, we need to consult the wider public.
Last question on you for tonight. As a president of the Legislative Council, you are ranked 7 on the government list, and you have worked with all past 4 CEs. And as you know, each of them have their own individual characteristics and their challenges. The upcoming CE election is going to be end of March. At this stage, no one has put a hand up except Mr. Sin. With everything in place now, in your opinion, do you think whether it's going to be a female or male, or whether the continuity or new person, would that person be able to catch up all the lost opportunities that we had in the last few years, do you think?
I think with the new legislator, who is a lot friendlier with the executive, anyone who have Hong Kong's in their heart and is able and willing to spend the next 5 years to work for the betterment of Hong Kong would be suitable to be the chief executive.
Thank you. Andrew, many thanks for joining us tonight. It is pleasing to note that the new legislature will endeavour to catch up on Hong Kong's lost opportunities in the upcoming 4 years. Thank you for watching, and good night.